All right, welcome. Today, we are diving deep into a battle that's happening inside all of our heads. It's the ultimate showdown, our rational, future-planning self versus our impulsive, I-want-it-now self. This is going to be a good one.
So let me ask you this, and be honest. Why do we know saving for retirement is the smart move, but that brand new phone feels absolutely impossible to resist right now? It's a paradox we all live with, and today we're going to pull back the curtain and figure out what's really going on.
But, before we can understand where it all goes wrong, we have to start with the ideal. We need to step into the perfectly logical, perfectly clean world of classical economics. This is the world inhabited by a creature they call Homo economicus, the perfectly rational human.
Now, the absolute foundation of this entire rational world is something called the time value of money. It's a really powerful idea, and it's pretty simple. A dollar in your hand today is worth more than that same dollar a year from now. Why? Because you can invest it and it can grow. This single concept is the engine behind almost every financial decision, from Wall Street to your savings account.
So, this rational model runs on a key assumption, something called dynamic consistency. It basically says that if you prefer $110 in 2 years over $100 in 1 year, you should also prefer $110 a year from now over $100 today. Your preferences are supposed to be stable and consistent over time. In this world, we are all flawless, long-term planners.
Yeah, right? As we all know from our own lives, reality is, well, it's a lot messier. And this is where that beautiful rational ideal comes crashing headfirst into the messy paradox of human impatience. This is where the story really gets interesting.
And welcome to the real world, the world of hyperbolic discounting. Now, this isn't a theory of how we should behave. It's a scientific description of how we actually behave. It's a phenomenon also known as present bias, this powerful, deep-seated urge to grab a smaller reward right now rather than wait for a bigger one down the road.
Okay, this little thought experiment just nails it. Look at the choice on the left. If I ask you what you'd prefer a year from now, an extra $10 to wait 1 extra week seems like a no-brainer. Most of us pick B. But now look at the right. The choice is today. Suddenly, waiting even 1 week for that extra $10 feels like torture. That immediate $100 feels way too good to pass up, and most people completely flip their preference and choose A. That flip, that is dynamic inconsistency in action, and it's the root of so much of our financial self-sabotage.
So let's put these two models head-to-head. The rational, exponential model is consistent. It leads to great long-term plans. The behavioral, hyperbolic model, it's inconsistent, and it leads to impulse buys and self-control problems. But the real key is that bottom row, the discount profile. For the rational ideal, the value of a future reward goes down on a smooth, predictable slope. For us real humans, it's a cliff, a huge, steep drop in value the second you push a reward from now to later.
And this chart just makes that cliff so obvious. Look at that. In our hyperbolic view, the value of $100 today is sky high. But the moment you delay it just by a little bit, its perceived value in our minds completely plummets. Then the drop between year 1 and year 2 is tiny by comparison. That giant initial fall-off, that's our present bias, right there in living color.
So why? Why are we like this? Is it some kind of character flaw? Well, no, not at all. The truth is, it's baked right into the hardware of our brains. Let's look at the neuroscience behind it.
And look, this isn't just about having weak willpower. It's about cognitive limits. Our brains are powerful, but they have a finite amount of processing power. When we're faced with really complex decisions about the future, our brains fill up with what researchers call cognitive noise. All that uncertainty makes it hard to figure out what a long-term reward is really worth. So what does our brain do? It defaults to the easy, certain thing, the reward that's sitting right in front of our face.
And oh boy, modern technology is just pouring jet fuel on this fire. There are incredible neuroeconomic studies where they put people in fMRI machines, and they found that just seeing a credit card logo before you even buy anything lights up the striatum, which is the reward center of your brain. So it's not just making payment easier, it's actively hitting the gas on your impulse to spend.
And what's the ultimate weaponized version of this? Buy now, pay later. I mean, it is a system that is perfectly, almost sinisterly engineered to exploit our hyperbolic discounting. You get 100% of the pleasure of the item right now, while the pain of paying for it is chopped up into little pieces and shoved way off into a future that your brain just systematically doesn't care about as much. Now, you might be thinking, okay, this is interesting from my personal budget, but here's the twist. This exact collision between the rational ideal and our messy reality has huge, huge consequences for the supposedly cold, logical world of corporate finance.
See, the entire corporate world values companies and decides on massive projects using a tool called discounted cash flow, or DCF. And the entire mathematical engine of DCF is built on that perfectly rational, perfectly consistent model of exponential discounting we talked about at the very beginning.
But here's the problem. That rational model can be incredibly fragile. What happens if an analyst makes a tiny, just a 2 percentage point change to one of the key assumptions in that model, the discount rate?
You get a massive, a 27% swing in what the company is supposedly worth. It shows just how sensitive this whole rational system is. If the humans making the assumptions have even a little bit of that cognitive noise or behavioral bias, their valuations can swing all over the place.
And this brings up a really fascinating philosophical question. Is DCF a broken model because it totally ignores how humans actually think? Or is its real purpose something else? Is it a necessary fiction, a kind of institutional commitment device that forces big organizations to at least try to think rationally about the long term and fight their own collective present bias?
So if we can't just wish ourselves into being more rational, what on earth can we do? Well, the answer isn't to change our brains. The answer is to design smarter systems that work with our brains instead of fighting against them all the time.
One of the most brilliant examples of this is the Save More Tomorrow program. It's just genius because it hacks our own psychology for our own good. You commit now, while you're feeling all rational and future-focused, to save more later. And here's the kicker. The savings increase is tied to your future pay raises, so you never even feel the pain of the money disappearing from your paycheck. It works with our biases, not against them.
And we can build these kinds of commitment devices into our own lives. Automating your savings transfers takes the decision out of your hands each month. Using opt-out retirement plans uses our natural inertia to help us. Even simple things like making a strict shopping list or forcing yourself to wait 24 hours on a big purchase. That creates the friction needed to let your rational brain catch up and win the fight.
Which really leaves us with the big final question. Our modern world is an engineering marvel, but it's largely been engineered for one-click, instant gratification. The challenge for all of us, for society, is can we be just as clever? Can we start to design a world that actually gives our future self a fighting chance? Thanks for joining this deep dive.